Yeah, thank you for a nice introduction, Jezbel. I will talk today about a very nice topic, that is biomolecular interaction analysis techniques. That is BIA techniques. And let me tell, has already introduced me, and fluid. Okay, and today I'll be talking about your biomolecular interaction analysis techniques and how it is going to be useful, right? So biomolecular interaction analysis, that is nothing but we are going to study about interaction of the biomolecules. Okay, so biomolecules means nothing but as you know, any kind of means let me tell the example of your proteins. So this is also coming under your biomolecule, right? We are unable to see, but there is some interaction is going on whenever we are taking some drug. So it is reacting with some of the biomolecules and sorry, receptor, and there is some complex is formed which is not seen to our eyes, but the interaction is going on in our body. Whenever any disease is happening, we are taking some drug, and there is some interaction is going on, right? And if we'll be able to know the interaction between that, then definitely it is going to be useful in the body, human body. So we are using some of the sophisticated instruments. So those sophisticated instruments, and we are able to know the interaction of all those things. We are able to know the ligand and the complex, whatever it is formed. So we can be able to find the exact root cause of the particular disease, and use further determination of identification of your some of the diagnosis of your initial stage of cancer. We can be able to detect. And nowadays we are using one of the advanced technique, that is your metabolomics. Okay, so in this metabolomics we are going to identify the metabolites. Okay, so whenever any drug you are taking, the metabolism process is going on in your body. So whenever the metabolism is going on, some metabolites are formed, and you are able to know the metabolite, what metabolites are formed. And accordingly, if that metabolite is means it is useful or not useful. So one of the example I'm telling you, like some of the NSAIDs, some painkillers you are taking. So whenever you are taking the painkillers, it may affect your liver. It may cause some hepatotoxicity, and continuous use of that particular drug, it may cause hepatocarcinoma. And we will be able to detect in the early stage. We can restrict the cancer, liver cancer, right? So this is one of the example metabolomic study, right? And we are using this metabolomics, some of the sophisticated instruments like LCMS and all this technique, NMR, magnetic resonance spectroscopy, right? So I'll be talking about all these techniques, how it is useful for the biomolecules, detection of biomolecules with some example. I'll just illustrate. And I'll not take much time. And I think Dr. Jasmine will not permit me to take more time also, right? Because many of the speakers are in the row also after me. So in my talk today, I'll be talking about the introduction and in the BIA techniques, like as you can see in the slide, biochemistry and biophysics methods, molecular methods, computer-aided techniques, and novel creative approaches. And finally, I'll be talking about your summary and the conclusion, how it is going to be useful, and what is the significance of this particular BIA techniques, different techniques. Okay, and along with, I'll be talking about each technique advantage and disadvantage. Okay, so let me start with this biomolecular interaction analysis. What is that? Actually, interaction means nothing but that there is some kind of reaction will be there. Means interaction will be there between the molecules. Now, maybe all molecules will be there in our body. Different are going to going to diagnose the particular disease, we can be able to invent some of the tools, right? Like we are unable to know nowadays the pandemic. In the pandemic, we are in the COVID-19 pandemic. There is a interaction is going on between the antigen antibody vaccine era. So we will be able to know. Then we can be able to go for this discovery of new drug molecules. And as of now, very less drugs are available, and no specific drug is available in the pandemic, right? So for that, this technique we may use, and I'll be talking about one more technique at last, which can be useful for the detection of this particular pandemic. It can be useful in this pandemic, right? So, in this almost all biological processes, as I told you, there is an interaction between the macromolecules and small molecules. So that kind of interaction we are going to analyze by using some of the sophisticated instruments. Okay, and the study of such interactions is known as your BIA, that is biomolecular interaction analysis. It's a very nice topic because that is we are going to know the interaction between the biomolecules in the body. Lipids are there, proteins are there. We are able to know the structure of the protein, like one of the studies going on advanced technique, that is your proteomics, right? And like the study such BIA mainly key factor like understanding of biology at the molecular level. We can be able to know the at the molecular level the particular biology. Then drug discovery, as I said, you can be able to discover new drug molecules, because whenever any new drug molecule you are going to prove it, then you need to go for some biological activity, and whenever you are going for some biological activity, you need to interact with the receptors. Okay, and when there will be any interaction, that interaction you will be able to know whether it is going to be useful or not. Okay, and another one, development of diagnostic test. As I told you, you can be able to invent some of the diagnostic test, and uh, that is why it's very crucial to develop techniques mainly probe, characterize, and discriminate. Mainly, we need to know all these things: probe, characterize, and discriminate. This is the main chemistry and biophysics method and methods coming on this particular, especially the optical as well as the non-optical method. Generally, we are using in all these kind of study. As you can see here, optical different optical methods are there, like fluorescence, SPR, MS3, your ATR, FTIR. And I'll be talking all these things, and Raman, NMR, UV, CT circular dichroism, UV, ultraviolet visible, mass spectroscopy will be there. In the non-optical method, electrochemistry, chromatography techniques are there, electrophoresis are there, pull down techniques are there. So different kind of ITC is there, calorimetry, and you can say that is DSC is there, differential scanning calorimetry. So different kind of normal methods are also available, those which are under, that is your non-optical methods. And in your optical methods, like as you can see here, fluorescence, SPR, MST, ATR, FTIR, and all these techniques are there. I'll be talking about all these in details. And optical methods, as you know, and this optical methods, generally here we are using some of the radiations for the determination, for knowing the interaction in the molecular level. Okay, let me tell you about your fluorescence spectroscopy. Fluorescence spectroscopy, nothing but here anything any interaction we are going to study, if they are fluorescent in nature, if the complex, whatever it is going to be found between the probe and the ligand, the complex, whatever it is going to form, so that ligand must be fluorescent in nature. And fluorescent in the sense, what does it mean? Means it will absorb the light radiation, UV radiations, and it will fluoresce. It will emit the radiation with different wavelength, and that wavelength will be detectable. And we may use some fluorescing reagent also in this case for the determination of this bimolecular in the bimolecular level. So this is about your fluorescence spectroscopy. As you can see here, before when one of the technique is there on which the fluorescence is based upon, the technique is known as FRET technique, that is called fluorescence resonance energy transfer technique. In this technique, what we are doing, as you can see here, this is the CFT P and and between them and the distance of separation should be more than distance of separation must be 10 nanometer and should be below 100 angstrom. So and after that what will happen, as you can see here, when there is no fret is involved, if there is no absorption, means if there is no frequency, your fluorescence resonance energy transfer is not there, then you can see with different wavelength it is emitting. And when it is observing the radiation, this is the complex formed. So between the complex, it is fluorescing with your 528 nanometer. So we can use the filter and we can be able to detect. As you can see here, there is no print, so there will be no your in the means probe and ligand, there is no complexation is happening. So with no fret, and here fret is there, right? Terms of separation between them so that they can be able to interact with each other. You can see the example donor, that is a tryptophan, and here the acceptor is your dancil, and between them there is an interaction between there, and the distance of separation between them is 2.1 nanometers. Then only they will be able to interact with each other. So like that, different donors and different acceptors are mentioned here. As you can see, fluorescein, it's one indicator actually. So fluorescein, it may react with the tetramethyl sorry, tetramethyl rhodamine. So the distance of separation between them 4.9 to 5.5 nanometers. So like that, so many you can see rhodamine 6G and malachite green, between them the distance of separation will is 6.1. That is why they are interacting and they may show some kind of fluorescence. Okay, some of the example, as you can see here, another some of the example, as you can see here, how they are fluorescing for 475 nanometer, and when they are forming the complex at 530 nanometer, they are going to give that is your the fluorescence. Okay, and what is the advantage of that? As you can see in the fluorescence resonance, Fred can be able to use this particular technique, Fred, in the living cells. So you can be able to know the means the construction, the constitutions of the living cell, interaction between them by allowing the UV light to pass through that, and you can be able to know the particular what is that called, the constitution of that particular living cells. And it's a some short time of trial, means less than 90 seconds, you will be able to identify. And it's very quantitative in the sense you can be able to measure how much of the biomolecule present, and or the that particular fluorescent compound is present. It's very sensitive. And what are the main drawbacks? As you can see here, high background noise, donor reabsorbs emissions, natural fluorescence of cells, oxygen quenching effect. Quenching means there will be decrease in due to presence of oxygen, there will be a decrease in your fluorescence will be there. That is called quenching effect. So that quenching also may be happened. So that is one of the drawback of FRET technique. And as you can see here, another technique is there, and widely used technique, that is and very inexpensive also, that is ultraviolet visible spectroscopy technique. In this, we can be able to identify the nature of the peptide bond, and as well as the aromatic amino acids. So you can be able to know the nature of the amino acids, right? And many biological molecules, strong absorbance in the visible region. Okay, in the visible region, they may observe high radiations, and as a result of this presence of metal ions, what kind of metal ion is present, and prosthetic group also, you can be able to find out, and the nature of pi electron systems. Okay, and example, suppose I'm telling you example, the nature of chlorophyll, carotenoid, flavin, the structure of all these things, you can be able to know by using this ultraviolet visible spectroscopy. And that is why I have used, you can see here the peptide bond. It may not strongly observe, it may observe at 220 nanometer as well, whereas The aromatic amino acid, it may observe at 230 to 300 nanometer, because there is presence of conjugations, there is presence of pi electron systems, and as the aromatic system, they are having pi electron systems, definitely it will observe at high radiations and visible radiation. Okay. So the is the and surrounding polypeptide environment also, you get the probe and the ligand when they're forming the complex that. And advantage and drawbacks. Main advantage is it's very simple, more than with fluorescence. It's very simple than FRET technique. It's very inexpensive. It's and quantitative also. Quantitative is with you can be able to identify, means find out how much quantity is present, right? And in case of drawbacks, what are the different drawbacks? Mainly, it's less sensitive than fluorescence, less specific than fluorescence, overlap bands. You can see the fluorescence is more sensitive, more specific. But main advantage in this case, it is very inexpensive, right? And coming to next, that is circular dichroism spectroscopy. In this is called CDS also. And this is nothing but the difference in absorption of left and right circularly polarized light. Okay, so the difference between the left and right circular polarized light, we are able to know by using this circular dichroism. And generally, proteins and DNA, mainly these and many ligands are chiral in nature, and mainly the circular dichroism. By using this particular technique, we can be able to know the nature of the carbon atom, whether it is a chiral molecule or whether it is a chiral carbon, right? So the chirality of the compound we can be able to identify by using this particular circular dichroism system. And if you'll see the chiral ICDs, their ICD means it is nothing but the molecular interaction between the chiral and the achiral compounds can give rise to induced circular dichroism. Okay, induced circular dichroism, that is called ICD. Okay, it is nothing but it's a combination of the interaction between the chiral and achiral compounds in our body. Sometimes chiral compounds also will be there, achiral compounds also will be there. Whenever they will interact with each other, it will form induced circular dichroism, and we can be able to find out by using this particular technique. Okay, and as you can see here, some of the pics how you'll be getting in case of your circular dichroism spectroscopy. As you can see, what are the advantages? Give structural information. You can be able to know the structure of the compound. It's very sensitive idea, giving you one ability of that particular carbon, and it's when identify, you can be able to find out the structure of the compound. So you can use for the structural elucidations. Another one, it's very quantitative and no extensive sample preparations. There is no complication in the preparation of the sample is required. Another what are the drawbacks? Machines are more expensive than UV. It's very much expensive. It is one of the negative drawback of this particular technique. And it measures binding strength of the order of micrometer. So this is also one of the major drawback. Another one, new technique, that is nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy. In this, we can be able to know the nature of the nucleus, what kind of nucleus it is having, how many protons are there, and what kind of protons are there. We are able to know the nature of the proton, as well as we are able to know the nature of the carbon. As you know, many of the compounds, many of the biomolecules, they are mainly made up of your carbon as well as hydrogen, right? So we are able to know the nature of this particular protons. Okay, we are able to know the nature of the nucleus. You can say indirectly we are able to know the nature of number of protons, number of neutrons, and all of these things. Okay, and one of the highly sophisticated application of this NMR is your MRI, that is your magnetic resonance imaging. Okay, in this case, what we are doing, we are able to know any kind of nerve damage, nerve compressions, or internal injuries. We can be able to know this particular by using this MRI technique. So this is very, and this is nothing but your BIA techniques, right? And you can be able to see here the advantage. What are the main advantages? Very sensitive to weak interactions. Okay, and wherever very interaction is very less, also it can be able to detect. Okay, so highly sensitive, you can say, and reveal the portion of the molecule involved in the interactions. Accurate kinetics, even for short lifetime bounds, assay in equilibrium solution, quantitative, large range of affinities. Okay, and coming to drawback, needs concentrated isotopically labeled sample 550 to 2 millimole. Okay, so these are some of the drawbacks. It is not suitable if the compound biomolecule is having larger, not suitable also. Okay, and needs high purity sample. So in this case, we need very high pure sample. Means we know we need in this case. Okay, which is highly pure. Okay, and free of impurities. Because if any impurities will be there, then additional peaks will be there, and there will be some interference, and you cannot be identify all the things. Okay, and coming to mass spectroscopy, in this mass spectroscopy, it is nothing but here we are able to know the nature of the molecule depending upon their mass. Okay, what is, and how it is possible, because it has to undergo the fragmentation process. And how the fragmentation process will be happen, the molecule you are going to analyze the compound, you have to bombard with high speed electrons and different types of ionization source you have to use, like your ESI, one of the source here you can be able to see, right? Electro spray ionizations. So in this, by using all these kind of means ionization, you have to first fragment the molecule depending upon their mass by charge ratio with respect to your relative abundance. You can be able to find out the nature of what is the fragment, and what is the molecular weight of the compound. Okay, and you will be able to how, what is the main principle behind here? The compound to be analyzed will be bombarded with your high speed electrons, then it will be moved under the influence of your electrostatic force, and followed by your what is that, magnetic force. Okay, magnetic field also you need to keep. And after that, what will happen? It will undergo that particular ionization. Those ions will move under the influence of this particular electrostatic force as well as your magnetic force, and finally ion separator will be there, ion analyzer will be there, will be able to identify what kind of ion it is. Is it audible, Dr.
Yes,
Jazil?
yes, it is.
Zaswell?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can
Due
still
to
see and hear
certain
you.
problem, yeah, it was disconnected. Okay, previously it was okay.
Yes, it was fine.
Yeah. Thank you. So
Okay.
my screen is visible right now. Shall I proceed?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, please. So right now you can see here, as your you can see here, that is your denaturing of your mass spectroscopy, and non-denaturing. And in case of no denaturing, you need to dilute to 2.5 micrometer in water, in a solvent of 50:50 ratio of water and acetonitrile, by adding 1% your formic acid, and you need to inject into the mass spectrophotometer, and you can be able to identify the nature of the ligand, what is that, and stoichiometry. And if it is non-denaturing, then you need to dilute with your 10 to 20 micromole in ammonium buffer, and you need to inject into the mass spectrophotometer, and you can be able to identify. So how to your estimate or identify the denaturing, this one, and the non-denaturing. Okay, and you can see here surface, another technique, that is your CELD technique, that is called surface enhanced laser desorption. Is combined with your CELD TOF mass spectrophotometer, and it's a you technique. It's nothing but the combination of your chromatography. So here it's the combination, so that is why it is known as. Okay, And here you can see the cell D plate on these protein chips are there, and complex of protein mixture will be there. Here the complex is found. Finally, we are going to analyze by using injecting into the mass spectrophotometer. Here we are using the laser. Laser is used for the ionization process, and after the ionization is happened, it will be influenced under the your circumstances of the presence of any magnetic field, and finally we are going to detect what kind of compound it is formed. Okay, so different types of sandy plates are available, like CM10 ion exchange means whenever there will be any ion exchange will be there between the probe and the ligand. So you need to take this CM10 and H50 whenever you are going to give a mechanism of your this ion exchange, then you need to take a plate of CM10. Okay, and what are the different advantages? As you can see here, binding stoichiometry and kinetics. You are going to know about the kinetics, right? And pharmacokinetics especially, and a rate of your binding also, and you can be able to know the means rate of the reaction, whether it is following zero order, fast order, or whatever, right? And you can be able to find out the half life as well as the expiry of the new drug molecule, whatever you are going to finalizing. And also one of the advantage, that is your high throughput capability. It is very highly capable technique, highly acceptable technique. Okay, no stabilization is needed, so it is highly stable. Okay, next technique is your Fourier transform infrared spectroscopy. In this, we are going to know the nature of the molecule, nature of the functional group present in the compound, in the biomolecule. Okay, so the biomolecular interaction, wherever the interaction is going on, you need to make a sample of that biomolecule, and you need to after proper extraction, you need to prepare a sample by adding by using some of the sampling technique. Then you need to means expose in your, what is that called, FTIR, and you can be able to know the what kind of interaction is there, and whenever IR radiation will pass through that particular the main advantage. Sorry, yes, this is the main advantage. I'm audible. Sorry, Dr. Jaspel, there is some network issues are there today.
It's
Why
okay,
I
doctor.
don't know.
Yeah, doctor, you have 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I'll be finishing all this, and
Thank you.
after that, this is the TIA technique, and as you can see here, another technique is there, that is your surface enhanced Raman spectroscopy. In this surface enhanced Raman spectroscopy, as you can see, this is a laser beam. It is interacting with the biomolecule. It is exposed, and there is a signal. It is coming out. That signal will be identified. We can be able to find out the Raman shift. As you can see, the molecule, what is present in that particular, okay, functional group. And as you can see, what is the difference between Raman and IR? In the Raman, the vibration is because of the scattering of the light, whereas in the IR, the vibration is because of the observance of the light. This is the difference between that. But IR radiation, IR spectroscopy is highly acceptable technique. Okay, and as you can see here, another technique, surface plasmon resonance technique, but it is not that much widely used technique. Okay, and one more technique that is very important technique, micro scale thermophoresis. And in this, what is that, we are going to measure the motion of the molecules, how the molecule are moving, and how it is moving, right? So that we can be able to know by using this MST technique. Micro, you can see here, there is an interaction is happening after binding small molecules. They are moving, and there is some interaction is going. As you can see here, they are moving. So we are going to find out the orientation here in case of any molecule if they are in a moving conditions. Okay. So this is no binding, and whenever there is binding, as you can see here, so they are forming the complex and they are moving. We are able to find out the particular with a fluorescent signal. As you can see, whenever it is moving, it is here. So we can be able to know, yes, it is moving, and the ligand, it is in a moving condition. We can be able to identify that particular drug molecule. And coming to non-optical methods, and in the non-optical methods like your isothermal titration calorimetry, what is that actually? You know that whenever the macromolecules or small molecules, they are interacting with each other, there must be some heat exchange will be there, and whenever there will be heat exchanges will be there, Definitely, because we don't know all the molecules, they may not be having the same temperature. So whenever they will interact, the temperature will be transferred from the higher temperature body to the lower temperature body. So that is why heat exchanges will be there, and that heat exchanges we can be able to identify using calorimetry. So this is the main basis of that. As you can see, this is the molecule. It is whenever it is not reacting here, and it is reacting with this particular ligand, and it is forming the complex ligand in series. As you can see, protein in the cell, then protein ligand complex is happening here. And whenever they are moving, you can see here the heat exchange is there. Temperature is down now. Again, it is coming to the baseline. Again, interaction is there. Again, another interaction, and because of interaction, there is, you can see here, heat exchanges, and finally it is reaching the equilibrium. So this is about your isothermal titration calorimetry. We can be able to identify in this way the heat exchanges. Okay, this is one of the technique, and this is DSC same manner. We can be able to identify the your what is that called, the exchanges of heats. Okay, as you can see here, so ligand, protein, and whenever they are having the complex, so there is a heat exchange, and we are getting another peak here, and we are able to find out, right? And many advantages and disadvantages will be there. And due to lack of time span, I'm unable to derive the technique, affinity capillary electrophoresis here, and we are using this particular technique for the analysis of all these biomolecules and their interactions. Okay, as you can see here, this is a protein complex. It is forming here immunoprotein. This is one technique. This technique I was talking. This particular technique we can be able to use for this particular COVID-19 means era. In this, you can see here protein complex is there, antigen antibody reactions may be there, immunoprecipitations maybe we may use, and after that tyrosine digestions will be there. Then we can inject into the LCMS, and we can be able to identify the interaction patterns. So this is about your technique, whatever we are using, co-immunoprecipitation. So this technique is very widely and very recommended technique for in this pandemic era. Pull down assay, it is nothing but depending upon the affinity. This like a chromatography affinity, and you can say it depends upon the affinity towards the stationary phase. Okay, and if it is having high affinity, then it will be retained faster, and if it is having less affinity, then it will be retained later. It will be written later, even though also it may not be written also, right? So this is about your pull down assay. Electrochemical methods, as I told you, electrochemical method, it is nothing but depend upon your electrochemical properties. And in this way, in this case, what is happening? The molecules, biomolecules, they sometimes when they are exposed to some of the radiation, some of the electro source, then they may be forming some ions, and due to formation of ions, the movement of ions, there will be electrical properties will be generated, and that may be measured. That may be a measure of the molecule depending upon the measurement of the current. You can implement like amperometry, potentiometry, conductometry, and all these techniques. But as you can see, electron transfer may be there, and that may be the reason. And you can see here how it is forming the complex. Only there is a complex is formed. This is second step, this is the third step, and this is the fourth step. Okay, and these are various techniques. I hope all have taken away whatever the things I have delivered today. And if anyway expectations level, I'm deeply what you can say, I'm pardon for that particular thing. So with this, I finish my talk, giving me a chance for delivering this talk. Then thank you, Dr. Jaswal. Over to you. And if any question is there, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nalini. Thank you so much for your insightful presentation today. Due to the constriction of time right now, we're going to skip to the questions after a few more presentations, if that's okay. But please feel free to put in the questions, guys, into the chat box. And thank you once again, Dr. Nalini, for that amazing presentation.